Good morning, 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 everybody. Today is the fifth day in the month of July 2022. My name is Heritage at this markets analyst at HFM Nigeria. As always, we check through the markets, find out what the overall sentiment is, if it provides opportunities, and then how we can take advantage of it. But please remember that this is just a communication material and that nothing in this communication contains or should be considered as investment advice or investment recommendation. Users acknowledge that investments in FX and CFD products is characterized by a certain degree of uncertainty, and that any investment of this nature involves a high level of risk for which users are solely responsible and reliable. What we have this morning in terms of the overall market environment is a more negative tilt. Started the day slightly up, but now we're seeing more shifts to the downside. And this is the day after the lull trading we had in yesterday's session, where we had the US bank holiday in respect of Independence Day. And then so far today, we're seeing equities, yes, starting to tilt lower. We're seeing commodities lower as well. Even currency is also showing the negative flow. And I had this written down, earlier in the day. I said markets tilt negative as traders get back after the holidays. Markets are generally lean risk off today, although some of the flows are mixed. Amidst a lack of fresh impactful catalysts, right? Equities have given back some of the earlier gains that we saw, but remain mostly up generally. But even with that, now they are tilting lower and then pushing lower now. At the time of writing, US 500 was up by 0.60%. Commodities are mostly weaker today. Iron ore, for example, is down over 1% a day. Copper is down as well, right? Oil prices are also down, easing from yesterday's highs, right? And then bond yields and measures of volatility are also mixed so far today. That's now where the mixed flow comes in, right? You look at bond yields, some up, some down. You look at measures of volatility as well. Um, some up, some down as well, but FX clearly shows that risk of flow. Now we had a couple of reasons, a couple of information news updates earlier today. There was reports that US President Biden was considering announcing a reduction in tariffs on China, talking about $300 billion in tariff reduction, right? That in an aim to try and counter inflation. Now that should be a good thing. That was one. Apart from that, we also had data from China where we had Chinese services data, which shows that activity grew at a fastest pace like in over a year. Right. That also was a positive. That tried to lead sentiment earlier in the day, but I mean the negative clouds that we've had of global economic recession, global worries, high inflation still weighs heavily on market. Also, we had the Reserve Bank of Australia increase interest rate earlier today's meeting. Earlier today, the meeting, they increased by 50 basis points, just as markets expected, right? But from the meeting, there wasn't so much hawkishness like markets would have expected, and there was calls for the RBA to also follow in line with the Federal Reserve by going by 75 basis points hike. But basically, the debate was between 50 and 25, rather than the 75 as well. Now, AD couldn't really keep so much momentum to the upside, right? And as such, commodity prices had weighed on it. Even now, lower equities have also weighed further on it and is now sitting amongst, the laggards in today's session, right? Along with the NCD as well as the euro. Now, on the other hand, leading to the upside, you have the dollar, strongest amongst the majors. The market environment that we're in right now is a supportive factor for the dollar. We have fears of recession, global economic slowdown, all of this supporting the dollar. Even lower commodity prices also supports the dollar as well. Now, that's been one of the factors. And then you have the other safe havens also, somewhere there at the top, CHF as well as JPY. The CAD, though, is also somewhere looking around the top of the majors, but with oil prices lower, with commodity prices lower, with equities tilting lower, I'm not really feeling that particular one today. And a couple of levels on strengths and weaknesses in terms of the currencies. And then the calendars really is a light one. We have, yes, a couple of federal central bank speakers, some from the Bank of England, Bailey, for example, on the wires. But apart from that, it's really going to be a light one. I think the focus will remain solely on, market sentiment, on central bank speak, as well as even the overall, reaction to what the RB had just done. Now, let's quickly look at charts. First of all, on the equity space, right? Like I said, we started on more positive side, but now we've paid back most of those gains, all of those gains basically net unchanged for today, right? Now this has been a wide swing, and then it just says, how about a more, patience with this. Don't forget that we have a nice area of support level around here, which also is interesting. Possibly, pointed that. Okay, so we have one around here as well. So I mean, having looked at pulling back, falling down here, this is the key level area of support you want to also be very, watchful about. But that's basically the same story across the other equity space. We had an initial push up, now we are down, even up to the Japanese index side. Initial push up, now we are lower. Same thing on the FTSE side. Initial push up, now even the downside is even massive. So now we are seeing that tilt to the risk of side. And the dollar index has really taken a coup of this, haven't ranged all through yesterday. We've seen a massive break to the upside, massive push to the upside. Euro weakness is part of this, and dollar strength also helped to see dollar index push up even more. Oil prices now lower for the day, but we're still very, very close to yesterday's high. So I'm not really ruling that out just yet. There's been some worries on supply side for oil. There's so many, supportive and even negative factors for oil. Supply constraints is there, supportive of price, and demand worries as well in terms of recession and even lockdowns. COVID worries in China also, weighing on oil prices as well. So there's that back and forth. So I'm not really, excited about jumping into any of this so far. Copper prices are down as well in today's session, over 1%. One of the commodities as well. It's been down for a while. It's just been falling and falling and falling and falling and falling, right? The environment that we are in is not supportive for something like copper, even other commodities. And it's what we are saying here. Now, looking to PS trend versus weakness. We mentioned the AED, NZD on the weaker side, euros on the weaker side, while JPY, USD on the stronger side, as well as even the CHF. NZD, JPY, for example, has seen a lot of downside already in today's session. That haven't pulled up some more early in the day, down over the ATR by 133 pips already, right? And then you want to look at where we're trading right now. We're trading into support level. Yesterday's lows around 3.5, right? So I mean, that's even if you wanted to sell this, you don't want to be selling at such low levels. Now, if you could get a pullback, anything back towards this key 83, 84 level, right, was the low earlier, like the start of the day, basically, way back in Asia, also the high in Asia yesterday, right? I mean, this would be interesting. Anything back to this region could be interesting. Looking for further pushes down towards this round number once again. You want to look at AUD USD as well. Let's take this out. Now, AUD USD as well. Now, in this case, I would love to sell this in line with the current environment, but right now we've moved a lot already, and now we're already at yesterday's low. So, what would I like to do instead? Right, I can get a pullback, right? Two options here. We have one here, then we have one up here as well. So, anything back towards these regions could be interesting in terms of looking for further downside on this particular pair, right? Having said that, you want to look at was another one. So said NZD JPY, said AUD USD, AUD JPY, also another interesting story there as well. You want to look at this and say, okay, right now, where are we trading? Key area as well, support, previous resistance, going back to yesterday's Asia and, the previous day, Friday's American session, right? So clearly this is a no. So a pullback, probably a pullback towards, let's see, the Saturday session. I think this area would be interesting. That's just me looking for a deeper pullback. This could be interesting as well for me. Anything back towards this region. Now we could say, how about this level? But because it's really, really close to this overall support level around here, it's a bit tricky for me. So I think I'll prefer a pullback before looking to go. And feeling for the fact that we already moved a lot more than what the ATR even says. So a deeper pullback will be better to look for further re-engagement to the downside. Euro JPY as well, massive moves to the downside already. So much, over 200 pips already down, almost 250 pips already on the downside already in today's session, right? Having said that though, you don't want to be caught, selling at lows like this, right? But rotation back towards yesterday's lows or towards even this round number 141.00, maybe could be interesting to look for the downside on this particular one. You can also look at the dollar, for example, AED USD, an interesting one. We're already here, pull back towards this round number. Interesting looking for the downside. Just basically looking to pair this trend versus the weakness. NZD USD, and that story there as well. Right now, you don't want to be caught selling very close to this. Maybe anything back towards yesterday's lows or even the round number, better to look for engagement to the downside. But don't forget that the overall environment still breeds some form of mixed flow. So I mean, being more patient, being more prudent would also be a way to go into the session. I think, markets are somewhere in the middle there in terms of fighting, between biases, between narratives. I think it's going to still play out for some time. Probably with the week that we have, yes, there are a couple of economic data points for the US scheduled in the week ahead. It'll be interesting to look out for, interesting to pay attention to. But so far for now, we have that risk of tilt, and then you have AUD NZD lagging the most, and then you have USD JPY CHF also at the top of the majors. On the calendar, like I said today, it's going to be a light one. Um, After the RBA meeting that we had where they hiked rates about 1.35 by 50 basis points, we don't really have so much, scheduled on the wire, right? So keep an eye on sentiments, keep an eye on the market environment, on the equity space, and then do take care and enjoy the rest of the trading session. Thank you. Do enjoy the rest of the day. Bye for now.